So you love podcasts, and you want to listen to more amazing content, but you have no idea what to listen to. And your friends keep telling you about great episodes, yet you can never remember what they told you. Well, here's the answer. Good Pods. It's the social app dedicated to podcasts, where your friends, podcast listeners, and favorite podcast hosts all come together to share on their feeds what they recommend and what they listen to. You can connect to others, bookmark episodes, start a conversation about the episode, connect to the hosts, and most importantly, listen to great podcasts right in the Good Pods app. Download Good Pods wherever you get your apps and start sharing with a community that loves to listen. Good Pods. It's where to connect and listen.
Well, I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal. People know me. I'm very important. I have many leather-bound books, and my apartment smells like THRIVELOUD with Lou Diamond.
It's time to take an inside look at those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond. Today on Thrive Loud, we have a pastor, podcaster, adoption advocate, former professional soccer player, although he looks like he could still be playing. He looks like his fit is a fiddle right now. We're going to cover leadership, soccer, healing, adoption, marriage, and faith. Thrive Loud listeners, Jesse Bradley. Jesse, how are you today?
Lou, it's great to be with you. Thanks for having me on the show. Love your energy, your passion, and I just love the way you come alongside people, build them up. I've seen your talks with different businesses. You just bring a lot of energy, help people connect. You're very authentic. Thanks for having me.
Jesse, I got to bring you as my opening man for wherever I go, wherever I speak to. I just need you to do that. That would be great. That would be for anything we do. But this show, we're going to focus on you. We're going to talk about all the fun things. Okay, so you've had one interesting little path. And I think the way that I want to do this, because you have so many avenues that we can go down and cover. As I learned, your production team gets frustrated with you because you can go down each one of these channels. Give a little bit of a move, not from the womb, but I want from playing professional soccer into the passions that you're focused on dealing with every day, because I think our listeners would love to hear that connection, if you could.
Right on. Lou, ever since I was 3 years old, I told my parents, that's what I want to do when I grow up, play sports. We grew up on the University of Minnesota campus and went to all the games. Ended up going to Dartmouth College, which I know is your rival, Dartmouth and Cornell. We're trying to make it work here.
You guys were better than us in soccer. I think that's pretty fair to say.
Yeah.
So.
Big green against big red. That sounds pretty fierce, doesn't it?
You know what my friends always used to say to me? They'd go like, the big red what? The big green what?
I know. The clash of the colors, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And then at Dartmouth, so I was playing there. Just had a great experience there. Our coach was Bobby Clark. And you know about leadership, when there's the right leader or coach, he sets the culture and brings out the best in everybody. And that's what happened. We saw so many of our teammates play. You know, Andrew Shue went on to play professionally, Tommy Clark. There was a lot of people. And it was one of those where it felt like family. And it also, the passion was growing for soccer. And I was a goalkeeper. You got to be a little crazy to be a goalkeeper. I'll admit that. And I was able to play. It was just before MLS at that point. I did play on a Minnesota team. And now all my teammates, they're running the Minnesota United team, which is pretty cool. Wow. But I played overseas, went to Scotland, went to Africa, Zimbabwe, and I took a prescribed medication to prevent malaria. And I took it every week. And after a season, it built up toxic levels in my system. And wow. it was the toughest time in my life. I was literally fighting for my life for a year, and it ended my career. Physically, the most serious symptom was my heart, and it was atrial flutter, which is a serious abnormality. Tachycardia, it would beat 160 beats a minute, sitting still. Oh, wow. Heart murmur, skipping beats, and pain in my left side of my chest for a year. And doctors didn't know if I was going to live. And I ended up flying back from Zimbabwe. It was an abrupt ending to my soccer career. And it was one I didn't see coming. There weren't really any warnings about the side effects. And like I say, I was so grateful to be alive. Out of that experience, I think some of the deepest personal lessons in my life happened. And one of them was an attitude of gratitude. That's when it started for me to be intentional. I started to write down 10 things every day that I'm thankful for. I also started to chart because it felt like I wasn't making much progress. I went from, as a professional athlete, your body is your livelihood. And then I had a body that wasn't even functional. In addition to the physical symptoms, there was also panic attacks, depression, suicidal thoughts. It was like a bad drug overdose just taking over my body. A half-life was a month. So it would not go away, would not get better. And I was stuck in that. And it felt like everything that my life had been building up to was just gone. If it's like a table, the 4 legs are gone. And now it's kind of like starting over. People maybe feel that with COVID, right? It's a reset. It's starting over. And you have to think about, who am I? What do I still have? What are my talents? What's my passion? So I really have a heart for people who are changing careers, who are trying to figure out, maybe life was going one way and it's not going that way anymore. It's like, where do you start? And I even realized from my identity, it can't be attached to grades, to soccer, to friends, to health, because that stuff can be taken away. That stuff can be gone. And a lot of things, it was humble pie served up, another round and another round. And most people can relate to a season or two in their lives when it just felt like it went about as terrible as possible. But I'll add this, that I think the greatest things in life come during those seasons when it feels like it's the worst or you've lost everything.
Jesse, how old were you when that took place?
I was just in my 20s at that time.
Okay.
Yeah. So, after playing in Scotland, I had an opportunity to play in England, went to Zimbabwe because really wanted to help people there. And we tutored on the side and helped out. And then also my college roommate, Tommy Clark, who leads grassroots soccer now, ended up serving people there. We had guys on our team dying from AIDS. There was drought, there was poverty, and then AIDS. Guys on the national team were just dead like 2 months later. And it was so brutal. Tommy, that stirred Tommy to then devote his life to help prevent AIDS. And from that experience, though, and that tragedy, I learned from the people in Africa. When I arrived there was so much love, and I was so much hospitality and generosity. And the people there, even though they have much less than the people in America, there was a sincerity, an authenticity, a connection. They were just genuinely so grateful you were there, and they would give you anything. Like if I showed up at someone's house, they would bring out all the best meat. And I'm like, no, you don't need to, and some of it was a little mystery meat and, you didn't know what you were eating, but it was meat. It was their best food, or they would give you anything they had. And it was like, I should be giving you everything. And I think it's one of life's lessons that it's better to give than to receive. And I think we've got a lot to learn from people in hardships or in Zimbabwe. And the joy, the singing, I miss the singing, the kids, and just, I can still hear them. And I think here they are in school, don't have the resources. Some people are coming back to school. The tragedy then was that even if they graduated with a degree, there weren't jobs to step into. And yet they're singing in school, they're learning, they're studying. I just thought, wow, I would love to bring more people into that environment to see what was happening there, because it transforms your life.
So transforming your life, for those that listened to the bio at the beginning, the first thing I said was that you were a pastor. So I'm going to start off with this. Was religion something that has always been in you throughout your whole life, a care for the church?
It really wasn't. My parents had terrible experiences growing up, and maybe a lot of listeners can relate to that. Had a little taste of it and tasted something that was dead, hypocrisy, no thanks. And that was my parents. And so they wanted to shield me from anything to do with faith or God. And then also growing up, I just didn't have a lot of interest. I would say I was agnostic growing up. And it wasn't until, when I arrived at Dartmouth, a couple things. I took a class, Introduction to World Religions, not because I was seeking God, but just like, let's take the class. Let's find out what's out there. And I started to read the different texts. And the professor was kind of critical about the Bible and Jesus, but yet it piqued my interest because I thought, okay, if somebody teaches in a way that's compelling and loves and isn't in the grave. And like, what are all these claims to be God? I'm like, let me kick the tires a little bit here. And so that caught my attention. Also, I couldn't figure out why. Maybe people can relate to this. On the outside of our lives, there's one story, and on the inside, there's another story. And on the outside, everything looked like success. Great school, great grades, going to parties. I was in a fraternity at that time. Soccer, we won the Ivy League championship. I was starting as a freshman. The things that I thought would bring me happiness, I couldn't figure out on the inside why there felt like there was something missing. And that can sound trite, but there really was something missing. And it's like there's something that Jesus said, you can gain the whole world and yet forfeit your soul. And I'd say, well, that summed it up for me. Like my soul feels empty. And that led me on a search where, again, I had hundreds of questions. The first Christian I really ever met was in college. He was on my dorm floor. He was a quiet guy on the track team. And I just bombarded him with questions. Patient guy from small town Tennessee, introvert. And he just kept listening and sharing a little more. And I watched his life because I didn't just want to read the Bible. I wanted to read his life. And there was something there. And with that, all those questions, I just got to the point where it's still a faith decision, but I thought, there's way more evidence going that direction than there is to deny it. And I thought, well, there's all this historical evidence that I never had growing up. And I thought, I'm going to make this decision to follow. And at the core of it was grace, because I won't compare all the religions. There's a lot in common, like love your neighbor. There's great morals in different religions. But grace was different. And this is an undeserved gift where God comes to us and loves us. We don't try to earn or prove or perform and then eventually be good enough for God. That's not it. My whole life was better grades, better in sports, do better, whether it's friendships, just learning, growing, and everything was do better. And that for me can be beneficial in some contexts. But in terms of religion, I can never climb up to God and be good enough or play that game of performance. And it's the complete opposite. And for me, that's refreshing. That takes the pressure off. And that's that we're loved before we realize how much we're loved. That makes total sense.
I heard something once. I heard it from a professional golfer. And I've noticed this, that there are a lot of professional athletes that find an avenue to religion in whatever form it is, in some way that's more serious than it was before they got in. And one of the conversations that I had with this golfer was there was so much pressure to perform in the sport that they were playing, and the level of competition was so great, and something you just hit upon, that faith did not require that pressure.
That's it.
Faith enabled you to just believe what you needed to believe at whatever level that was.
Yeah.
And it was like almost like that was the relief or the release, whichever way you want to look at it, that people would look to. And I've never thought of it that way, but it starts to make sense. And specifically at incredibly competitive levels for the pressures all the way from little kids to make the team, to get to college, to play at that level, to win.
Yes.
It's nonstop. And eventually, you can't win forever. And eventually your body will tell you can't.
That's right.
But your soul can go on and has an endless life. So I totally get it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well
Is that
said.
right?
Well done.
Yes.
Yeah. Because as a soccer goalie, there is so much pressure, and I put pressure on myself. And at each level, kids today have so much pressure in sports. Are you going to make it to that college scholarship? And in soccer goalie, if you make one mistake, you lose the game 1-0. It's up on the scoreboard, and when I didn't have soccer as my number one in my life, it's like, wow, I can relax. I can enjoy the game. Takes the pressure off me, and I can even pray before a game with some teammates, and now we're having fun again. And that was a game changer.
Adoption.
Yeah.
Share with you. You're an adoption advocate. Tell us a little bit about that and where you interplay with that.
Yeah. My parents got divorced when I was 7, and I know what that's like to have two parents. And then all of a sudden the foundation of your life is split. And I could never have dad come back, and mom and dad were never going to be together. And that heartache, one passion of my life is to bring healing and hope for people. And when I see kids without parents, I know what that's like to kind of lose a parent or not have the same family environment. And so many kids today are growing up with no parents or maybe one. And we adopted, my wife and I adopted through foster care. And I would love to see where there's, healthy homes and there's love and compassion to bring those children into a forever home, to have a family. I don't think we're going to need a foster care system if people just step up. It's one of those that it's one we could totally become unnecessary because we have hospitality and love, kind of going back to Zimbabwe and Africa. And it is a sacrifice. It's not for everyone, but there's a lot of roles. I mean, you can care for a child and be a mentor. You can support financially. I mean, there's so many things you can do. It takes a lot of people. It can be one of the most challenging things because every adoption story is a healing story. And the stories are truly, they're heartbreaking. When you hear about what happens, I don't know how graphic to be, but when you hear about,
as much as you'd like.
Well, when the social workers would tell us, well, do you want to take this girl into your home? She was raped several times as a 2-year-old. You're just like, oh no, like that's happening. And then they've got to grow up and the same things can happen, in the foster care system. And it's like, let's just rescue, human trafficking, adoption, foster care. Like there's actions we can take to make a difference. And you can't do it all, but you can do something. And let's not be, the Bible says, what is real faith? It's to care for widows and orphans, and let's look out for sometimes seniors in our, and now I'm branching out, but, elderly during COVID, so many people are lonely, convalescent centers. You can go, you can care, you can write letters, you can visit people. So many people are lonely. In that context, but also there's so many kids that need a forever home. And so it's been a joy for us. We adopted a boy. He's a Black boy. So in our family, we're learning, I think just culturally coming together in unity. And I love our kids. We have 4 kids. I'm so grateful for this opportunity to adopt. And I was talking to someone today who's considering adoption. You got to be real about it because there's challenges, but I can't think of many things that are more rewarding than to adopt a child and to have that relationship the rest of your life.
Podcasting. So obviously, look, as a pastor, we get it. You're always got a message to deliver, and I can imagine your content's there. Tell us what your show is, what you promote, what you speak about, and what you love about the medium.
Well, podcasting, I think, is a way to connect with people, and it's a way that they can pick it up when they want, how they want on their commute. It's in the comfort of their own homes. If they don't like it, they can turn it off. And podcasting is a way to tell stories. And I think stories are what we need. Stories of hope, stories of healing, inspiring stories. And so I interview different people, wide range of people for, 6 or so years, and did that and then combined it. It was on radio as well. And then now I've been more of a guest recently. And so I enjoy truly both sides. I like to draw people out. I know I'm talking more today, but I really like to ask questions.
You are the guest. You're supposed to be.
Well, true. I'm playing the role here. But when you ask questions, and you're very good at this, but you enter in and you want to bring out a side of people that maybe isn't obvious, or they don't go there as often, or you kind of make them not uncomfortable, but you don't want, just because a lot of people do, hundreds of interviews and they could just give the answers. Some people send you their answers before you interview them, and they're like, this is what I want you to ask.
Don't even get me started on that.
I can't play the canned packaged game. I can't do that. So I wanted to ask questions where it's different parts of their life that maybe don't usually come out, or they weren't even expecting to be asked. And that's where I think it gets fun, because I think what especially people are hungry for is authenticity. What's this person really all about? And sadly, like with religion or pastors, sometimes there's a front, and when it's not sincere, and when something is just, it's the right answer, but it's not really the person, or it's not convincing, or it's not that authentic. You pick up on it well, Lou, when someone's genuine and passionate, and they want to scream it from the rooftops, as you say, like that's where the gold is in life. And a lot of people haven't figured it out, how they're wired, what their gifts are, what their burdens are to help people. And they're stuck. And maybe they're just trying to bring home a paycheck, or they're just that's what their parents wanted, or that's the career they started, and they're just stuck. And when you get to tap into and help them discover, like, no, this is what you wake up thinking about. This is what you go to bed thinking about. Doesn't feel like work, because this is what you would do if you weren't paid. And people discover that, and they talk about that. Now it gets fun. Now people come alive. And in podcasts, I think you can have some of that, even in a half hour. And that's a lot of fun. I mean, you just want more of that, right?
Don't you get the feeling that he must have a real fun Sunday and a lot of attentive listeners?
My staff tells me to slow down. I don't even drink coffee. I'm in Seattle. I don't even drink coffee. And
that's not possible. It's in the water. It's definitely in the water.
Must be. We're gonna do a check. We'll take the water to the lab. We do have an old building, and those drinking fountains, you don't know what's quite coming up in terms of minerals and substances. So we'll do some work in the lab and get back to you.
I used to joke about, I used to go to Seattle a couple times a year to see some clients, and I don't believe it's still around, but there was that one intersection that all four corners had a Starbucks. And I remember saying, okay, this is ridiculous.
I know. I live in a smaller town suburb, and we've got two Starbucks that are about, a mile apart, and they just added another one in between it because I'm like, yeah, you don't want to go a half a mile without a Starbucks. And people are coming. So yeah.
Let's do this. Let's do, actually, no, let's not do this. This is my day. I've had a long run. I just realized I got out of my flow, but Jesse's adaptive because he's a good host. Okay. You've listened to the show, so you know where this is going. Look, from your sports career to being a pastor, to supporting your family and other families of adoption. This is amazing stuff. This is what Thrive Loud is all about. You're thriving on most days. Obviously, we all have days where we're not quite kicking on all cylinders, and people in your position deal with a lot of pressure, a lot of issues, a lot of tough things within their community. So it's hard.
Yeah.
Jesse, on those days when you're not quite thriving and you're a little off your game, what practice do you seek, or what individual do you seek out to get yourself back on the thriving track?
Right on. I think it's important to keep people in your life that are ruthlessly honest. And so for me, you can tell I can say yes to too many things. I can get excited about too many things. I need some people in my life that say, all right, slow down a little bit here and say no to that there, because there's so many opportunities, right? And so part of my challenge is just that. What's most important in staying in that lane? And then also, I would say, just being honest, I get energized sometimes when I just drop to my knees and I just cry out. And it's not like a long, eloquent prayer. It's just a cry of like, this is not what it should be. And I'm not feeling like I should be feeling, and I need help. And that for me, starting in Africa and what I went through there just became part of a habit that I just know I can lift up my eyes to hills and cry out for help. And there's a real change that happens. Yeah.
Jesse, let's do the admin part of the show. Share with the listeners all the places people can find you, websites, URLs, links, social media. It will be in the show notes, but it always gets more engagement when they hear it from you.
Okay, great. Twitter, that's an easy place to find me. Probably do the most there, still on Facebook. And then I started Instagram really, really late, kind of reluctantly just jumped in. So you can find me there as well. jessebradley.org. That's a website where there's a resource I want to tell you about. I've, including this weekend, talked to someone for 2 hours about their marriage, just trying to hold things together, trying to figure things out. It's been a brutal year for marriages. Statistics show that. I designed a 30-day course, short video each day, 4 minutes. You can watch it and then bring up discussion questions and just talk about together as a couple. We are seeing marriages, healing happen in marriage. And it covers a lot of different aspects of marriage, very practical. You can get it all for free. People say, why do you do it for free? I say, I just care about marriages. My parents were divorced. I know how rough that is. It's easy to kind of go down that road because you get hopeless and there's tension. You feel like there's no hope. There's no way out. But I've seen many people come into my office saying they're going to get divorced, and then talking through and working with them. And then there's a harmony and kind of it's reconnecting that happens. And it's even deeper and even better than when it started, but you don't feel like you can get there. So that resource is on the website, and I just encourage you to check that out. We just started a YouTube channel too, and that's just launched it. So if you want to go on there, there's a lot of videos as well. All the topics we've been talking about today, I love to talk about. So feel free to send me a direct message or any way that you want to reach out. Also, I should say our church is graceinauburnn.com, Grace Community Church. We're in Seattle, and we're a church that multi-generational, multicultural, having a lot of fun. And even though it's a tough COVID year, graceinauburnn.com. Thank you so much, Lou.
Jesse, permission to go down Fun Street with me here.
Fun Street it is.
All right. Are you a fan of the movies?
I do like movies. Go for it.
Okay. Do you have an all-time favorite movie?
This is old school, but it was Rocky, 1978. it was a battle then between what's better, Star Wars or Rocky. I've since watched all the Star Wars movies, but for me, Rocky, the underdog, punching the meat, drinking the raw eggs. I thought that was a thing. I thought, man, raw eggs. Yeah, you got to do that. So Rocky stole it from me. Yeah.
For the record and for the listeners, I did the raw eggs thing.
Yes.
It was not pretty.
It just goes straight to your biceps and your pecs, and you get huge like Rocky when you drink it. You want every listener to have at least 12 today and notice the difference. Do that once a day for 7 days. They'll notice the difference.
Dear God.
But goodness. Those movies, like I was thinking Braveheart, where someone's going all out. And, of course, I lived in Scotland, so anything with a Scottish accent is going to capture it for me. There's a word in the Greek, came from a message this weekend, but ektenos, which means in the Greek, fervently, and it's love fervently. We think of the word extend, and it's not just a little bit of love, but it's all in, it's full extension, and not holding back, putting it all on the line. And I thought, Lou, that's you, and and that's what you help people to do. And that ektenos, when I feel like there's genuine passion, whether it's a song, a movie, when there's a cause, when there's someone's going all out, I just gravitate towards that. It's like I can pick up on that, and it's captivating. It's compelling for me.
I love it. All right. So we're going to do the speed round of Fun Street here. And the way this works, Jesse, is I'm going to
You got to tell a preacher to do speed round and everything, because it's going to be long until you say that. So yeah, let's go back to the speed round, Lou.
Note to self for future podcasts. Anyway,
there you go.
No, you never ran off it. You were on point all show. And I know our listeners know that.
All right.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you something. I want you to share with me the first thing that comes to your mind. These are things that lift you up, make you feel good, motivate you, make you thrive. You ready?
Right on.
Okay. A song you love to hear or that pumps you up.
A song, I'd say, I was thinking Lecrae is what I'd say, Tell the Whole World. He's a hip hop artist, Christian. You got to check him out. Lecrae.
Okay. Favorite food that's not a dessert.
I'm going to go with burritos. Just stuff it. Huge. Chicken, vegetables, whatever. Beef, big burritos.
Everything.
Yeah, big burritos.
Favorite dessert.
Let's go with ice cream, Ben and Jerry's. Yeah. Ooh. And Cherry Garcia, maybe pistachio, chocolate chip cookie dough. You can't go wrong with Ben and Jerry's.
That's because that's your New Hampshire bit, like flirting with Vermont over there. That's where that's coming
You're
from.
So right. You're so right. We did all the sports teams at Dartmouth. We had a challenge, and all the teams were scarfing down one of those Vermonsters. And and I'll tell you, it was interesting. The women's soccer team won, beat the football team, women's soccer team won. But where we got stuck was we're all with spoons. This is obviously way before COVID. With spoons, we're eating it as fast as we can. And this is the crunch time. You get down to that last third of it where now it's soup and everyone's done their spoon in and out a few times. The hygiene wasn't great. And it's like, who's going to drink the bottom of the Vermonster? And the women's soccer team won. So there's your Ivy League Vermonster challenge update. Did you have that at Cornell?
Yeah, we are. Well, we didn't have it at Cornell, but I'm going to say this, that we definitely we're going to insert an image. I'm saying this to the production team, insert an image of the Vermonster in the artwork of this program here, because people need to see that thing. It's freaking amazing.
Thank you.
Continuing.
Yes.
An activity you wish you did more of.
I would say reading, because it would slow me down, and read people that you wouldn't think a pastor reads. So broaden it and more reading, because I'm so conversational, video. I mean, I read every day, but I think that would be a habit I would expand. They say leaders are readers too, and you can't get past that.
An activity you wish you did less of.
Les would say the vortex of social media, where you just wander aimlessly and you look up, you're like, where did that half hour go? It starts out good and you think you're focused on one thing, and then you look at the clock, you're like, no, that wasn't a half hour. Where did that time go? So a little less, just that curious roam on social media. I think that's got to shrink back for me.
Jesse, if I could snap my fingers and you can go anywhere in the world, where are you?
Coronado Island. That's where my honeymoon was. My wife and I, that's a go-to spot. In San Diego, we'd take all the kids, I think. We need to do this, but take all the kids. SeaWorld, move up to Disney. There are so many things down in San Diego that we enjoy. That's where I would be. La Jolla, Torrey Pines. Yeah, San Diego.
Last question for you, Jesse. I am a soccer fan, a football fan, to be more appropriate, and obviously, I root for certain teams in the Premiership, and obviously, you're in the States. Who is your team that you love to support?
I'm going to go with Aberdeen, Scotland. That's where I was, but they're not as well known. They're trying to get third place this year. They're doing all right. But I'll say Liverpool is a team that, just always, like them, never walk alone.
Jesse Bradley, truly a pleasure to have you here on Thrive Loud. Continue to do what you're doing. You're inspiring in your own right. Thank you for the shout outs here, but make it clear you're doing some amazing things here on this planet. And it was a pleasure to have you on Thrive Loud.
Lou, I really enjoy it. I just hope that more people just invite you in, because I've seen you in action, and I see you when you step into a room, how you're disarming, but then you also speak life into different settings, and you kind of help people go to the next level. So keep doing what you're doing. Thanks for taking a risk on a pastor and a rival in the Ivy League too. So thanks, Lou.
You got it. And to all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep thriving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Check us out on the web at thriveloud.com and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrive Loud. And check us out on the Good Pods app at Thrive Loud, where you can follow, listen, and connect directly to Lou and all of the Thrive Loud episodes. Thanks for listening.